it's not such a good tiding for the All Progressives Congress APC in Bayelsa, as its hope of contesting and possibly winning the governorship contest in the state has been dashed when the presiding judge of the Federal High Court in Yenagoa, Jane Eyang, declared that the APC didn't follow constitutional guidelines in its primaries. Well, this recent ruling has attracted reactions from the rank and file of the All Progressives Congress. Lawyer to the APC and the recently disqualified Mr. David Leon, Mr. Sidney Ibanichuka, described the judgment as a travesty of justice. He says the court granted a request that was not part of the suit.
Ahead to give orders that were not asked for or prayed for by either of the parties is, to say the least, a travesty of justice. In the circumstances, we, on our part, as lawyers, are going to take steps known to law. We definitely, vehemently, are going to challenge the outcome of this judgment delivered today. And as we speak, we are in the registry and we are taking the necessary steps known to law. That is just the truth. And the beauty of this whole thing is that this court is not the court of final arbiter in matters like this. This judgment will be challenged and will be challenged very seriously.
Well, tonight we'll be discussing the legal implication of this ruling for the All Progressives Congress in Bayelsa and what this means for the entire party structure at the national level. Don't forget, the party has suffered similar fate in Zamfara State, Bauchi, Rivers. But can we say all is now lost for the party in Bayelsa State? Well, joining me to discuss this live in our studio is a legal practitioner, Mr. Uche Onu. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you.
And I'm just told we have joining us as well from Yenagoa, Mr. Timipre Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's begin with our guests in the studio. I mean, we've witnessed a scenario of this nature, or maybe before we come to you, let's hear from Mr. Silva. I mean, hearing this with regards to your party for Bayelsa, the chances, how did this make you feel when you heard about this judgment, this ruling?
This is the state of our judiciary in Nigeria today. It's very sad. Enikin Lokpobiri went to court saying that there was a primary and that he was the winner of that primary. David Lyon answered back and said there was a primary and he was the winner of the primary. So the dispute was who won the primary. It was never about whether there was primary or not. But suddenly, the judge in our ruling says that, oh, there was no primary at all. Who said there was no primary? That was not an issue at all. But suddenly, she wanted to do what she had always wanted to do from the beginning. This particular judge has always been against the APC. It is not the first time she has actually miscarried justice in respect to the APC. She has done this to us before. The last election, the election in my constituency was to hold, and everything was on. And of course, when the PDP realized that they could not win that election in my constituency, they went to her. She is actually part of an extension of the PDP. They went to her, and she, in fact, I was going to my constituency to vote. I had even started seeing my community, and then I got a call that she had given an order that the election should not hold. And I had to come back. That was just the past election. So this time, when they took the matter before her, we knew that something was going to miscarry. But of course, as a law-abiding party, we followed on, and we decided to go through with the case. But luckily for us, I mean, just this afternoon, the appeal court in Abuja has granted us a stay, and therefore we don't have any problem. We are going for that election on Saturday.
Let's find out from our guest here, Mr. Onu. The judge in her ruling said that the party did not follow laid down guidelines for conducting the primaries.
Yes.
You see, one thing I want to say is that the scenario playing out in the system today among the political class is something that is not healthy to our democracy. A situation where a particular party, maybe PDP, they find favor by any ruling and they will hold the judiciary as the last hope. And then when the judgment is against them, they begin to cast aspersion on the judiciary is something that is becoming very worrisome. And we must stop that tide, otherwise it will continue to impugn on the integrity of the judiciary. Now, going straight to your question, you see, both parties approach the court for an issue to determine based on the facts before the Honorable Court. And if a court of competent jurisdiction pronounces a matter before it has acted what we say functus officio. It has performed its duty. So for any party, because I'm not here as a politician, but as a legal practitioner, it's high time we begin to obey court order. And whoever is not satisfied or aggrieved with such decision should know the next thing to do. The best thing to go is to go and appeal. So far as this judgment has been given and the court has pronounced, that remains valid and subsisting. And there is nothing, well, if that, from what the Honorable Minister for State has just said, if you have gone further to go to a superior court for a stay of execution, that is the thing we should be talking.
The question
That's
is,
ways to strengthen and further our democracy rather than coming here like what happened in the Supreme Court. One party will say it was a travesty of justice. Now, if it is not favorable to, I don't like that.
the question also is, how much time do they have, seeing as the elections is on Saturday?
Yes.
Let me ask you, Mr. Temipre Silva, because this was also a similar fate that the deputy governorship candidate suffered, where he was disqualified by the Federal High Court with regards to providing conflicting information on the documents he presented to INEC. I mean, this is double jeopardy, if you would call it that.
Well, you see, I have never said, I've never impugned the judiciary in totality. Definitely, we all agree that there are bad eggs in the judiciary. And the judge in this case was definitely a bad egg, one of the bad eggs. There are very good people in the judiciary, and we always approach the judiciary because there are good people. But of course, there are a few bad eggs that must be flushed out. For us in the APC, you say, well, it's a double jeopardy, but it's unfortunate. I mean, the first case was about the name of the deputy governor. His name was misspelled in his primary school certificate, and it was spelled differently. Nobody has claimed that he was assuming the name of anybody. He himself has sworn to an affidavit to say he is one and the same person, that the two names as spelled was his name and were his name. And somehow the court still went ahead and held that he had different names, and of course, in spite of the fact that there was an affidavit to support it, the court says, oh, it should have been gazetted. I've never really heard of that before. Many people change names, and nobody goes to the extent of gazetting their names wherever. But of course, the court has said it. We, of course, the APC is a law-abiding party. We have never been a lawless party. That's why we also approach the court. We go to a superior court, and we got an order. That order says that we should go back to status quo ante as it was on 19th of September 2019.
All right, and I'll just come to you, Mr. Onu. With regards to all of these court cases, how healthy are they in growing our democracy, seeing as they're coming so close to an election? Wouldn't the electorate be confused as to who they will be voting for on that day?
Well, you see, it is very unfortunate that our political actors have not learned enough lesson. This is something we just came out from in the last general election, what happened in Zamfara, River State, and others. By now, we thought that the political parties would have learned a lesson of, adhering to, lay down procedures, rules, by, going by the way constitutional provision and the provision of the Electoral Act, by ensuring that they do the right thing. But you see, where they always feel they will continue to drag the court into this arena is becoming very unhealthy for our democracy. A situation where it is court now that will determine what and what to do, and thereby defranchise so many people, it's not healthy for our democracy. It should serve as a very big lesson for our political class to do the needful at all times to ensure that internal party, this is followed in everything they do.
Finally, Mr. Silva, will there be a governorship candidate for the APC on Saturday in Bayelsa? And that's governorship and deputy governorship candidates.
Of course, there is a governorship candidate and a deputy governorship candidate. I just told you that we already obtained an injunction. The court ordered INEC to ensure that our names were sustained and status quo ante be maintained. And the status quo is from 19th September 2019. That means we have a governorship and deputy governorship candidate. We definitely we are poised to win, and we don't have any reason to use the courts.
Unfortunately, we appreciate your time. Wish we had more time on the program. We'd like to thank you, Mr. Timipre Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum, and Mr. Onu here, Uche Onu. Thank you for joining us on the program.